It was my birthday, a day that started so normal, you know? Just coffee, a little sunshine, then my husband Owen came home early, which was weird, but good, I thought. We were having dinner, a quiet evening, when someone rang the bell and a strange woman stood there, smiling too wide, and suddenly my entire world felt like it was breaking apart, leading to a surprise no one saw coming for her. Before we continue, tell me in the comments, where are you watching from? I'd love to know. Life had a funny way of tricking you, did it not? One minute, you're floating along, thinking you have it all figured out, then the next, bam. Everything shatters. That is how it felt, exactly. My name is Beatrice, and for years, I thought my life with Owen was fine. Not a fairy tale, but solid. We had our routines, our little jokes, the comforting hum of a shared existence. Owen worked in finance, long hours, sometimes he traveled for business, but he always called, always sent a postcard. Or so I believed. My 40th birthday was approaching, and I felt a quiet sense of contentment. We were not having a big party, just a simple dinner at our home. A nice meal I planned to cook myself, maybe a bottle of that sparkling apple cider I loved. My best friend, Paula, was supposed to come over later for cake, which was always a laugh because Paula could make a joke out of anything. I remember picking out a simple dress, something comfortable but pretty, thinking about how good it would feel to just relax, to celebrate this milestone quietly. It was a Tuesday, a regular Tuesday, but it felt special because it was my special day. Owen arrived home early that evening, which, if I am being honest, was a little unusual. He usually worked until late. He gave me a quick peck on the cheek, a mumbled happy birthday, love, and went straight to change. I noticed he seemed a bit distracted. His eyes darted around, he kept checking his phone, but I just put it down to work stress. He had a lot on his plate, always. I was in the kitchen, chopping vegetables for a stir-fry, the scent of ginger and garlic filling the air. It was comforting, familiar. The evening felt peaceful, just the two of us. I remember thinking, this is nice, this is exactly what I wanted. Owen came back into the kitchen, looking a bit more composed, and actually helped me set the table, which was also a bit out of character. He usually left that to me. I chalked it up to him trying to be extra sweet for my birthday. Owen, I said, stirring the vegetables in the pan, you seem a million miles away. Is everything okay at work? He looked up, a quick, almost startled expression on his face. Yes, everything is fine, Beatrice. Just a lot going on, you know how it is. He gave a small, nervous laugh. I did not push it. I never liked to bother him about work stuff, figuring he had enough of it already. We sat down to eat, and the food was good, I thought. I had made his favorite, a spicy Thai chicken dish. But even with his favorite meal in front of him, Owen was quiet, picking at his food. I tried to make conversation, telling him about my day, a funny thing I saw at the grocery store. He would nod, or offer a short but his attention was clearly elsewhere. I felt a tiny prickle of irritation, then guilt. It was my birthday, and I wanted to be happy, not annoyed. Then, the doorbell rang. Owen jumped, literally jumped, as if he had been struck by lightning. My fork clattered against my plate. Who could that be? I asked, confused. We were not expecting anyone until Paula later. Owen's face was pale. I am not sure, he stammered. I will get it. He practically bolted from the table, leaving his half-eaten plate behind. I heard muffled voices at the door, a woman's voice a little too loud, a little too bright. A shiver went down my spine. This was not Paula. Then Owen reappeared in the dining room, followed by a woman I had never seen before. She was tall, with bright blonde hair and a dress that was definitely too fancy for a casual Tuesday night. And a little too tight, if I am being honest. Her eyes, bright blue, scanned the room, then landed on me, sitting at the table, my half-finished meal in front of me. And then she smiled. A wide, knowing smile that did not reach her eyes. It was a smile of triumph, of mockery. Happy birthday, Beatrice, she purred, her voice dripping with false sweetness. She even made a little gesture with her hand, a slight wave, as if she were a queen gracing me with her presence. My breath caught in my throat. I looked at Owen, standing rigidly beside her. His face was a mask of guilt and fear. He could not meet my eyes. The woman then turned to him, putting a hand on his arm, possessively. Owen, darling, you did not tell me your wife was such a homebody. Homebody? The word hung in the air, coated in a sugary venom. I was wearing my comfortable dress, no makeup, my hair still in a messy bun from cooking. She was dressed like she was going to a club. And Owen just stood there. He did not introduce her. He did not deny anything. He just looked from her to me, trapped. My stomach dropped. The food, moments ago a source of comfort, now felt like a lead weight. This was not a surprise party for me. This was something else entirely. Something awful. My mind went blank for a second, then a million thoughts crashed through me. The hushed calls, the late nights, the times Owen had been distracted. This woman, whoever she was clearly more than just a random visitor. And the way she had said, "My husband's mistress mocked me at my own birthday party." The words formed themselves in my head, even then. I felt a hot flush creep up my neck. Humiliation, sharp and immediate, washed over me. This was my home, my birthday, and this woman, this complete stranger, was standing here, mocking me, with Owen right beside her. "Owen," I managed to say, my voice a thin whisper. Who is this?" He finally found his voice, though it was barely a croak. "Beatrice, this is Serafina." He swallowed hard. Serafina. Even her name sounded exotic, out of place in my simple kitchen. Serafina just kept smiling that unsettling smile, her hand still on Owen's arm. She leaned in, whispering something to Owen, and he actually chuckled, a short, nervous sound. Then she looked back at me, her blue eyes sparkling with something cruel. "Owen has told me so much about you," she said, her voice a little louder this time, clearly for my benefit. "Especially about your delightful cooking." She gestured vaguely at my half-eaten plate of stir-fry. It felt like a knife twisting in my gut. My simple, home-cooked meal, something I made with love, was being ridiculed. I stood up slowly, pushing my chair back with a scrape that echoed in the quiet room. My hands were shaking. I looked from Serafina's sneering face to Owen's pathetic, cowardly one. "Get out," I said, my voice rising a little, surprising even myself. "Both of you. Get out of my house." Serafina actually laughed, a high-pitched, brittle sound. "Oh, honey," she said, as if talking to a child, "this is Owen's house too, you know. He pays the bills." That was it. That was the line. The pure audacity, the utter disrespect. My vision blurred for a moment with unshed tears. I would not cry in front of them. I would not give her that satisfaction. "Owen," I said, my voice now firm, "tell her to leave. Or I will call the police." Owen finally seemed to snap out of his stupor. "Serafina, maybe we should go." Serafina narrowed her eyes at him, then shrugged, letting go of his arm. "Fine," she said, rolling her eyes. "But we are not done talking, are we, darling?" She gave Owen a pointed look, then sauntered out, not even glancing back at me. Owen hesitated, then mumbled something like, "Beatrice, I can explain," before following her out, leaving me standing alone in my kitchen, the smell of ginger and garlic now tainted by betrayal. I stood there for a long time, the silence deafening. My birthday dinner abandoned. My heart felt heavy, a cold stone in my chest. "This cannot be happening," I whispered to myself, but it was. It had. The humiliation burned, a searing pain. Owen, my Owen, had brought his mistress to my house on my birthday and let her mock me. It was not just cheating, it was a deliberate act of cruelty. When Paula arrived later, she found me sitting in the dark, staring at the untouched cake. She just hugged me, not asking questions, letting me sob into her shoulder. When I finally told her what happened, she was furious. "Beatrice, that is absolutely disgusting," she exclaimed, her voice tight with anger. "Owen is a complete pig." The next day, Owen tried to come back, to explain, to apologize. I just looked at him, feeling nothing but a profound emptiness. "There is nothing to explain, Owen," I said, my voice flat. "You brought her here. You let her mock me. You humiliated me in my own home. There is no coming back from that." He pleaded, he begged, but the image of Serafina's sneering face, of Owen's cowardly silence, was etched into my memory. That was when the anger started to replace the pain. A quiet, simmering anger. I was not going to be a victim. I was not going to let them get away with it. I had to do something. Something quiet, something precise. I started asking questions, very carefully, about Serafina. Where did she work? Where did she live? I did not tell Owen, or even Paula, my full plan. Not yet. I just gathered information, piece by piece, like putting together a puzzle. I learned she lived in a nice little rental house, not too far from our neighborhood. A house I recognized, actually. It sparked an idea, a tiny, dangerous spark, in the deep corners of my mind. An idea that felt both terrifying and exhilarating. The days after my birthday were a strange blend of quiet devastation and cold, focused resolve. Owen tried everything. He sent flowers, he left desperate voicemails, he even showed up at my work, making a scene. I refused to see him, refused to answer his calls. Paula was my rock, listening patiently, offering comfort, but also echoing my growing anger. He deserves everything that is coming to him, Beatrice, she would say, squeezing my hand. And that woman? Oh, she has a special place waiting. I smiled grimly. She did not know how special a place I was planning for Serafina. My mind, instead of breaking down, had become sharp, almost surgical. The humiliation had been a catalyst, hardening me. I spent hours online, researching Serafina. It was surprising how much you could find out about someone with just a name and a general idea of where they lived. I found her social media profiles, public records. She posted a lot of pictures of herself, often tagged at a cute little cafe downtown. She loved to show off, it seemed, her expensive clothes, her perfectly manicured nails. And in some of her photos, in the background, I recognized elements of the rental house I had seen. A specific porch swing, a unique mailbox. It all started to fit. The house itself was not particularly fancy, but it was well maintained, in a nice, quiet street. I remembered seeing a for sale sign in front of it a few months back. I wondered if it had sold. A quick search on a real estate website confirmed my suspicion. It was still on the market. That was my first, what, moment. The first tiny crack of opportunity in the wall of my despair. A flicker of hope, or rather, a flicker of wicked delight. My plan, vague at first, began to take shape, solidifying into a concrete objective. Owen had taken my peace, my dignity. It was time for me to take something from his mistress. I knew nothing about buying a house, especially not one secretly. I needed help. I needed someone discreet, someone who would not ask too many questions. I remembered a lawyer, Mr. Jenkins, who had helped my parents with some property matters years ago. He was known for being thorough, professional, and very private. I made an appointment, telling him it was for a sensitive personal matter, something that required absolute confidentiality. Walking into Mr. Jenkins's office felt like stepping into a different world. It was hushed, orderly, with the faint scent of old paper and leather. He was a distinguished man, older, with kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. I laid out my situation, carefully, omitting the most raw emotional details, focusing on the facts, my husband's affair, the public humiliation, my desire to purchase a specific property, anonymously, and the intention to serve an eviction notice to the current tenant. He listened, his face impassive, occasionally jotting notes on a legal pad. "Miss Beatrice," he said, after I finished, adjusting his glasses. "This is certainly an unconventional request, but not illegal. You wish to purchase a property, and then, as the new landlord, exercise your rights regarding the tenancy." He paused, looking at me thoughtfully. "May I ask, is there a particular urgency to this?" I looked him straight in the eye. "Mr. Jenkins," I said, my voice steady, "this is not just about a property. This is about reclaiming my life, my dignity. The urgency is deeply personal. And yes, it is very urgent." He nodded slowly. "Understood. We can proceed with this, but it will require careful navigation. We will need to ensure the purchase is made through a trust or a limited liability company to ensure your name is not immediately obvious during the sale process. And then we will adhere strictly to all landlord-tenant laws regarding notice periods. Is that acceptable?" More than acceptable, I replied, a small, triumphant smile touching my lips. This was really happening. The wheel of my life was finally turning, but this time, I was the one steering. The next few weeks were a blur of paperwork, phone calls, and hushed meetings with Mr. Jenkins. He moved with quiet efficiency, pulling strings, making things happen. He found a real estate agent who understood the need for discretion and who, for a hefty commission, agreed to handle the transaction without broadcasting my involvement. The house Serafina rented was actually quite a good deal. The owners were eager to sell, and with a swift, cash offer, we were able to move quickly. I had enough savings, money I had put aside over the years for a rainy day or a future dream. Turns out, this was both. I felt a strange mix of emotions. There was the satisfaction, yes, a growing sense of power. But there was also a quiet sadness, a heavy weight from what this whole situation represented. I was spending my life savings, not on a trip with Owen or on a future family home, but on an act of vengeance. Yet, it felt right. It felt like I was fighting back, not just for myself, but for every woman who had ever been humiliated and cast aside. One afternoon, Mr. Jenkins called me. "Miss Beatrice," he said, his voice calm, "the papers are ready. The sale has closed. The property is officially yours, held under the name of Willow Creek Holdings LLC. Willow Creek. It sounded so peaceful, so normal. I almost laughed. This peaceful name was about to deliver a very unpeaceful surprise. "We can now proceed with the eviction notice," he continued. "The tenant is on a month-to-month lease. We are obligated to provide a 2-week notice, effective immediately." My heart leaped. 2 weeks. That was the timeline. My husband's mistress mocked me at my own birthday party, so I quietly bought the house she rented. 2 weeks later, she found my name on her eviction notice. The words of the title, that entire premise, it was no longer just a thought. It was becoming real. I pictured Serafina, so smug, so confident on my birthday. I imagined her receiving that notice. A chill of satisfaction ran through me. "Proceed, Mr. Jenkins," I said, my voice firm. "And please, ensure my name is prominently displayed as the new owner on that notice." This was not just about buying a house, it was about sending a message. A clear, undeniable message. I spent the next 2 weeks in a strange state of suspended animation. Owen was still trying to reach me, but his calls were less frequent, less desperate. He was likely getting tired, or maybe even spending more time with Serafina. He had no idea what was coming. Paula still did not know the full extent of my plan. I told her I was handling things, that I was taking steps. She just assumed I was getting the divorce papers ready, maybe planning to sell our shared house. She had no idea I was playing a much bigger, much quieter game. Keeping it a secret was hard, but necessary. It felt like a ticking time bomb inside me, a secret I was hugging close, knowing its explosive potential. I drove past Serafina's house a few times, just casually, on my way to the grocery store or running errands. I saw her car in the driveway, sometimes lights on in the evening. She was living her life, oblivious. Little did she know, her entire world was about to be turned upside down. This was not about revenge for revenge's sake. It was about justice. It was about taking back what had been stolen from me, my peace, my self-respect, my sense of control. And that eviction notice, with my name on it, would be the first step. The 2 weeks passed slowly, each day stretching into an eternity of anticipation. I felt a nervous flutter in my stomach, a strange mix of dread and exhilaration. Mr. Jenkins had assured me everything was in order. The eviction notice had been properly served. It was hand-delivered by a process server, just like the law required. No messy confrontations during the delivery, no direct interaction from me. Yet, then came the call. It was Owen. His voice was frantic, laced with anger and confusion. "Beatrice, what in the world have you done?" he practically shouted into the phone. "Serafina just called me screaming. She says she got some eviction notice. From you." I took a deep breath. This was it. The moment I had been waiting for. I did not raise my voice. I did not even let a hint of emotion creep into my tone. "Oh, did she now, Owen?" I said, as calmly as if we were discussing the weather. "Well, That is quite unfortunate for her, is it not? Unfortunate. Beatrice, she is absolutely beside herself. She says her landlord sold the house and the new owner wants her out in 2 weeks. How do you even know about this, let alone, what did she mean from you? He sounded genuinely bewildered, which was, I admit, a small victory in itself. Because, Owen, I explained, my voice still even, I am the new owner. I quietly bought the house she rented. Willow Creek Holdings LLC, if you must know. And I have every intention of having her vacate my property. There was a stunned silence on the other end of the line. I imagined Owen's face, pale, jaw slack. Then he exploded. You did what? Are you insane, Beatrice? You cannot just go around buying houses and kicking people out. What kind of sick game is this? It is not a game, Owen, I replied, a touch of steel entering my voice. It is called consequences. You brought your mistress to my home, on my birthday, and let her mock me. Do you remember that, Owen? Do you remember her standing there, smirking, calling me a homebody and ridiculing my cooking? Well, now she is going to be a houseless body, thanks to me. The words felt good, sharp and precise, cutting through his bluster. He stammered for a moment, then tried a different tactic. But Beatrice, what about our marriage? We can fix this. You do not have to do this. Think of what this looks like. What about our marriage? I scoffed. Our marriage ended when Serafina walked into our dining room that night. And what it looks like, Owen, is me standing up for myself. Something you never had the decency to do. I hung up the phone before he could reply, my hand trembling slightly. It was done. The first domino had fallen. A few hours later, Serafina herself called me. Her voice, usually so bright and confident, was now shrill, laced with panic and fury. You B-word, she shrieked. What is your problem? This is absolutely insane. You cannot do this to me. I have nowhere to go. Oh, I can, Serafina, I said, my voice calm, almost serene. And I just did. You see, when you mocked me at my own birthday party, you did not just humiliate me. You woke something up. And now you are going to feel the cold, hard reality of what you helped create. This is just revenge, is it not? She spat. You are just a bitter old wife. Bitter? Perhaps, I conceded, a small, genuine laugh escaping me. Old? We all get there. But a wife? Not for long. And revenge? No, Serafina. This is justice. You made your bed, quite literally, with my husband. Now you can find a new one to sleep in. In 2 weeks. I paused, letting the silence hang. And remember what you said about my cooking? About me being a homebody? Perhaps you will have more time to appreciate your own cooking once you find a new kitchen to cook in. I hung up again, feeling a surge of power I had not known I possessed. The following days were chaotic. Owen was desperate, begging me to reconsider, trying to manipulate me. He even showed up at Serafina's house, I heard, trying to play hero, but it was too late. The eviction was legal, and I was unyielding. Paula, finally learning the full scope of my plan, was aghast, then burst into laughter, then hugged me fiercely. Beatrice, you absolute legend, she cried. I cannot believe you actually did it. Serafina did move out. I saw the moving trucks a few days before the 2-week deadline, pulling away from the house that was now legally mine. There was a quiet satisfaction in seeing that. It was not about hurting her as a person, but about the principle, about the injustice. It was about standing firm. Owen and I officially began divorce proceedings. It was messy, of course, but I was prepared. I had Mr. Jenkins handling everything, ensuring I was protected. Owen had lost all moral high ground, and his attempts to make me feel guilty fell flat. He had destroyed our marriage, and now he was facing the consequences. I made sure to secure a fair settlement, enough to give me a fresh start. The house, Serafina's former rental, now sat empty. It was a nice house, actually, in a good neighborhood. I decided to keep it, to turn it into a rental property myself. A fresh start, a new venture. It represented my resilience, my ability to take back control. I felt lighter, freer, more myself than I had in years. The pain of the betrayal was still there, a scar, but it no longer defined me. The humiliation had been turned into strength. Months passed. The divorce was finalized. I renovated the rental house, giving it a fresh coat of paint, updating the kitchen. I found wonderful new tenants, a young family excited to make it their home. I started dating again, slowly, carefully. Life was moving forward, but this time I was moving it. I was not just reacting, I was creating. The experience taught me a profound lesson that true strength does not always come from shouting or grand gestures. Sometimes it comes from quiet, deliberate action, from understanding the rules and playing a different game. It comes from the unwavering belief in your own worth, even when someone tries to diminish it. That day, my birthday, was the worst day of my life, but it also became the turning point. The day I stopped being a victim and started being Beatrice again. Strong, capable, and in control of my own story. I hope my story gives you something to think about. It was not easy, but it was worth it. If you have ever felt like you needed to stand up for yourself, to take back your power, know that you can. What is one thing you have done to take control of your own life recently? Share it in the comments below. I would love to hear your experiences.